Run. Okay. I used to tell people my testimony, and share my testimony with them. What got me involved in the Jesus and all this, and I don't do that anymore. At least not with all the details. Years ago, like early 2008, actually it was January 2008, just I'll put it as simply as I can. God communicated to me that he was not impressed. I'll put that's as easy as I could put it. I had a brief, he was showing to me some things in my life that were actually, I thought were good things. Could have shown me all the bad stuff, but just showed the good things. And he was not impressed. That's putting it gently. Was not impressed with what I thought was the good things that I'd done. And then made it clear that the price that was paid for me was worth far more. In other words, you look at the good stuff you've done, not good enough. And I paid a dear price for you. A couple other things were said, but I said I'm skipping all the details. And so what I got out of that was, at my best, if you're a good person, you think of the movie Private Ryan at the very end when he asked his wife, was I a good man? Was I a good man? Great movie. Well, up to that point, if you looked at what I'd done, God did not think I was a good man. So the experience, I said, when I go into details, it's really kind of crazy. Most people I shared it with thought it was peculiar. Christians flat out didn't believe it. I had one preacher that I spoke to that I told him I had an experience. Oh, that's great. Welcome to the family and all this. He wrote me a page. This is an online guy I was asking questions of. I told him what happened. He wrote back, the devil's playing with you. You need to rethink this. And so like 3 sentences. Never heard from him again. This guy's a preacher, a pastor or something like that. So here I am. I'm this guy. I'm in my early 40s. Ooh. We're going to turn some water on it here. I'm in my early 40s. I'm not a Christian. I owned a Bible. I'd kind of, read a few things and could make sense of it. But I had a Bible. I would have told people I was a Christian because I was a Muslim. I actually didn't know the difference between God and Jesus, like God in the Old Testament and Jesus in the New Testament. I didn't know the difference between testaments. I was not raised in a religious family. My grandmother was the only one that went to a church. But the rest of my family just didn't participate in it. We just tried to be good people. So I had no background, no faith education, knew nothing. And this thing happened to me. God shows up, says, you're not as good as you think you are. And I paid a heavy price for you, and so far, you're a poor investment. So, and then finally, after telling a lot of people about it, the people that were nicest about it were the non-Christians. Oh, wow, cool. Christians, they're all freaked out about it. That doesn't sound right. Years later, after being at it for 4 or 5 years, it dawned on me what the problem was. Because after this preacher told me, oh no, that's the devil fooling with you, this and that, that just broke my heart. I'm thinking, wow, I must really be a moron. I must really be in bad shape where I can't even tell the difference from God or the devil. So that was not encouraging at all to hear from them when that preacher told me that. Open the valves here for water this pasture. So years later, after putting a lot of time in, a lot of reading, still wasn't a great prayer, I realized what had happened, at least with the Christians and the preacher. I'll just call it my God. This my God that came to me, actually I shouldn't say that, forget that. When God came to me and told me about my status in this world and in his plan, which wasn't a good status, it was harsh. I mean, I'm talking about if I said I was taken to the woodshed, that's putting it nicely. That's why I don't give you all the details, because most people just freak out. Or Christians do anyway. But I got taken to the woodshed. And the problem these Christians had with it was, well, that God sounds mean. Where's the Hallmark card? Where's the open arms? Welcome home, my son, child, and all this stuff. Most people have a God in this faith system in their mind who's like Santa Claus or their grandpa. Your grandparents can't spank you or discipline you in any way. They just love you, spoil you, and give you back. But when God came to me, this wasn't the God that they had been taught. This God was tough love and not afraid to get, mean and nasty to get his point across. You just got to read the Old Testament, you can see it. But everyone else has this idea of this, cuddly Santa Claus, and that wasn't it. God came to me. I wasn't happy. It wrecked my world. I mean, it messed me up for about a good year, but set me on this path. The sad part, I should say sad because I realize it now, is I had no discipleship. I had no mentor. I didn't know that you could use the book that way. I didn't know, and I didn't know there's 14 chapters in John, the book of John. So I'm winging it. I'm reading all over the Bible, this and that, and it was probably 6 months before I said, okay, I got to start from page 1 and just read through it. And still didn't put it together. But the point of this video, what I'm bringing up, is God spoke to me about things in such a way that does not fit the profile or the characteristics of the God that so many people think that's in their head, okay, of what they really think God is. And especially when I talked to that preacher, I mean, he went from pages of praise and wonderful, this and that. When I told him what God said, 3 sentences, never heard from him again. Had to be the devil. There's no way God would talk like that. Stern and serious and all this kind of thing. So a long time I doubted myself. Maybe I'm crazy. But now I know exactly who it was. That's why I have no doubts about God, the plan, or any of that. I have no doubts. Our issue is with the interpretation of what we do with it. That's a mess. And a lot of these people asked him, after a while, have you ever had an experience like this? God ever talked to you? No. And I think to myself, how can you tell me what he sounds like, or what the tone of the conversation is going to be? Not that it was a conversation. I didn't say a word. I was looking for a crack in the ground to crawl into. Always be careful. I mean, I've had other Christians come to me with their testimonies of wild supernatural experiences, which had a lot of wrong in them. But I never criticized these people. I never criticized this experience they had. I point them back to the Word, back to the Bible. And over time, if they spend enough time with it in prayer, use the Bible and the Holy Spirit as their guide, they could find out if what they had experienced was of value. Can't chastise someone for something that happens to them like that. Could be God, or maybe they're crazy. You never know. But the reason I bring this up is the God you think of or that you imagine may not be the God that we're depending on. I don't know why I didn't quit. The blow from that preacher, any other time I said, the heck with this crap, I'm out here. But I didn't, I stayed with it. Anyhow, I think you get my point. A lot of what we've been taught, especially most of us believe something that we've been taught by a guy, a man. And that is it's just dangerous. That's why I talk about John 14 so often. We've got to be led by the Spirit. We've got a teacher. He's the best one there is, and that's who we depend on. You can hear stuff from me and say, "Great job, Siller. That sounds plausible. I'll put that on the shelf." Don't put anything I see in your heart unless God brings it to you. You get it through revelation. You read that book, you pray. If what I'm saying is true, you'll get it through revelation. Depend on no man. I don't care how many statues they have made of him, the Calvins, the Luthers, and all this stuff. Depend on no man. Anyhow, love you. God bless.